Today we're going to talk about the exploding civil war between Trump's most vocal supporters and Elon Musk, and I interview Congressman Jamie Raskin about Elon Musk's takeover of the GOP, his ascent to ranking member of the Judiciary Committee, and whether failing to elevate AOC to the top of oversight was a mistake by the Democrats. And I'm joined by the Young Turks Cenk Uygur to discuss his appearance at far-right AmFest and whether reaching out to the MAGA sphere is smart or naive. I'm Brian Tyler Cohen, and you're watching No Lie. Elon Musk's honeymoon in the Trump administration seems to have ended before the administration has officially begun. So while most of us were celebrating the holidays, Elon has been waging a fight with the very people whose voices he spent months elevating. He's been publicly advocating for offering more visas to highly skilled foreign workers via the H1B program, and he tweeted stuff like this: "I am referring to bringing in via legal immigration the top 0.1% of engineering talent as being essential for America to keep winning. The number of people who are super talented engineers and super motivated in the USA is far too low. Think of this like a pro sports team. If you want your team to win the championship, you need to recruit top talent wherever they may be. That enables the whole team to win." He was backed up by his Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE co-chair Vivek Ramaswamy, who tweeted, "A culture that celebrates the prom queen over the math Olympiad champ or the jock over the valedictorian will not produce the best engineers." Well, I'm sure you can imagine how that went over with Trump's America First base. Matt Gaetz, for example, tweeted, "We welcomed the tech bros when they came running our way to avoid the third grade teacher picking their kid's gender and the obvious Biden-Harris economic decline. We did not ask them to engineer an immigration policy." And Coulter chimed in, "American workers can leave a company, imported H1B workers can't. Tech wants indentured servants, not high-skilled workers." Laura Loomer, who would ultimately have her Twitter verification stripped away by Elon over this argument, wrote, "Vivek Ramaswamy knows that the Great Replacement is real, so does J.D. Vance. It's not racist against Indians to want the original MAGA policies I voted for. I voted for a reduction in H-1B visas, not an extension. And I would happily say it to their face because there's nothing inflammatory about what I said. Everything I said is true. If India was so high-skilled, people would stay there instead of flocking to the US. You're not going to shame me into tempering my thoughts. I really am past the point of giving a fuck. The tech billionaires don't just get to walk inside Mar-a-Lago and stroke their massive checkbooks and rewrite our immigration policies so they can have unlimited slave laborers from India and China who never assimilate." Then Elon saw that and started fighting back, tweeting stuff like this: "The reason I'm in America, along with so many critical people who built SpaceX, Tesla, and hundreds of other companies that made America strong, is because of H1B. Take a big step back and fuck yourself in the face. I will go to war on this issue, the likes of which you cannot possibly comprehend." To which Steve Bannon replied, "Someone please notify Child Protective Services. Need to do a wellness check on this toddler."
Up crony capitalism, Elon Musk. And by the way, when we cut him off, he went begging the CCP, and that's why they have the joint venture in Shanghai, the Tesla, which is 100% of his value, right? This guy lives on government contracts and taxpayer subsidies, okay? It's all, we're going to get Joe Allen in here for a second to transform it. Elon Musk, once again, brother, I'm smart enough to tell you no to your face, and I'm evil enough to be able to expose you as a running dog for the greatest enemy this nation's ever had. You're a war profiteer. You're sleeping with the enemy, brother, and you've been doing it because you're not an American nationalist. You're not even an American. All you are is a globalist, okay? A globalist. And you will go where anybody writes you a check, and you would take it from Adolf Hitler himself because you're taking it from people that are as bad as Adolf Hitler.
And this is just a tiny sampling of the hundreds and thousands of tweets that consume Twitter over this holiday on this exact topic. Now, first of all, just as a quick aside, imagine being the richest person on the planet. You can quite literally do anything on Earth, and you spend the holiday season fighting with random racists on Twitter whose voices you elevated. By the way, if you ever needed to disabuse yourself of this notion that money buys happiness, all you have to do is look at Elon Musk, because my God, that dude has a pathetic existence. Also, this is what you spend Christmas doing? Aren't you part of the administration whose entire MO, entire reason for being is that Trump is bringing Christmas back? Right? Those evil communist Marxist Democrats stole Christmas from the department stores, and yet now Trump is entering office and you spend this sacred holiday fighting with strangers on the internet? This is what we brought Christmas back for? Okay, but Elon's sad little holiday aside, the broader irony here is that Elon paid hundreds of millions of dollars to help Trump, who ran on a xenophobic platform of deporting immigrants, win the presidency. And yet, now he can't understand why the rabid base of unrepentant racists that he emboldened continues to be racist. Man votes for leopard eating faces party did not think leopards would eat his face too. And look, of course, this is a hill that Elon's going to die on. He claims to be a former H1B visa immigrant who owns businesses that I'm sure largely rely on H1B visa recipients to function. But it's also a hill that the MAGA faithful will die on. Trump's agenda is America first, and his campaign handed out deport them all signs at his rallies. And so look, my take on this is that they both got fooled. The MAGA loyalists probably took it worse, recognizing now that they just installed into power an unelected oligarch who's going to use Trump to expand immigration programs that they hate, and there's probably nothing that they can do about it because Elon is the de facto president now. But Elon is also a sad little man who desperately craves the approval of the MAGA base that he has spent the better part of a year nurturing. He needs them to keep petting him and massaging his fragile ego, and now he's recognizing that these little foot soldiers are just racist assholes who are happy to accept the financial help, but don't actually agree with his worldview and instead want to elevate Americans and no one else. So, not great for either side. Now, it goes without saying, but the H-1B program is good. We should absolutely bring the best and brightest talent to the United States because if they don't come here, they go elsewhere. There's actually a 100% quote-unquote America First incentive to do this. Now, of course, MAGA doesn't care because for them it's more about promoting white Americans than America as a whole. The irony of all of this, though, is that Democrats understand this concept, but Elon decided to throw his lot in with the Deport Them All party and just hope that everything would work out from there. If Elon is looking for the party that would actually embrace and welcome high-skilled labor from other countries, that would be the party that he helped ensure would be shut out of power. But hey, I'm sure it'll be plenty easy convincing people like Steve Bannon, Laura Loomer, and Matt Gaetz that suddenly immigration is good. Now, per usual, the quick disclaimer, what you're watching right now is my once-weekly video podcast called No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There's an identical once-weekly audio podcast called No Lie. No Lie just joined the Crooked Media Network, which is home to Pod Save America. Like all audio podcasts, there are ads that support that show, and part of that deal is that the ads also air on the YouTube version. That means in one video per week, this one, there will be sponsors. So here's a quick word from this week's sponsor, followed by previews of my interviews with Jamie Raskin and Cenk Uygur.
No Lie is brought to you by Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath, and on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs, and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workouts, sleep, and even stress management. Here's how it works. All you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll know what's going on with your metabolism, whether you're burning mostly fats or carbs. Then Lumen gives you a personalized nutrition plan for that day based on your measurements. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you know exactly what's going on in your body in real time, and Lumen will give you tips to keep you on top of your health game. I don't really talk about my life before politics, but I was a personal trainer for about 10 years. Your metabolic health plays a massive role in getting fit and staying fit. And Lumen gives you recommendations to improve exactly that. So if you want to stay on track with your health this holiday season, go to lumen.me/BTC to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/BTC for 15% off your purchase. Lumen makes a great gift too. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode.
AOC lost her run to lead oversight, which would have given one of the most effective communicators in the Democratic Party the ability to have a bigger megaphone. And look, I think that we should be under no delusions about how difficult it is to garner attention in the attention economy. AOC has a singular ability to be able to do that. So can you speak on that decision by the party more broadly?
So this is where the power of seniority really did kick in. AOC is even more junior than me. She came in the term after me, so she's only been in for 3 terms. She's only been in Congress for 6 years, and Jerry Conley's been in Congress for more than 20 years. Alex has been my vice-ranking member on oversight, so she has had a very intensive 2-year tutorial in the management and running of a committee and has worked very closely with a lot of our members and has done a fantastic job at it. But Jerry Conley, exceeds her in terms of his experience with dealing with the manifold issues of the oversight committee, including the management of all these different government departments. And so I think it was amazing that she came as close as she did, really, because a lot of people were saying, Jerry Connolly is perfectly able to do the job, and he's smart on his feet, and he knows the issues really well. But there's a lot of love for AOC, and as you're saying, she speaks to the outside world and to the country in a way that none of us do. I mean, she's got millions and millions of followers in the social media, and I have colleagues, more senior colleagues, who really don't even understand the social media channels that she's an absolute master of. So that's something that I think the Democrats in the House and in the Senate, the Congress generally, are going to have to deal with. But AOC is not going anywhere but up. I mean, I think I've encouraged her to stay on the Oversight Committee because I think her future is very bright there. And we work together on a whole bunch of different projects in the House and in the country to communicate a very strong, true blue progressive democracy message in the country, including, our Democracy Summer project that we do in the summer. And I work with her and Maxwell Frost and a bunch of the other junior members on. So there is, an important generational dimension to American politics, like all politics. And this is a generation that is really coming of age, and we need them badly right now.
Is there some, I guess, to assuage some concerns, because it does feel like when you have somebody who is a unique talent within the Democratic Party who fails to ascent up to the ranking member role, which would again give her a bigger megaphone, is there an understanding or an acknowledgement within the Democratic Party that there does need to be changes in terms of how the Democrats reach out to people in the broader media ecosystem, the evolving media ecosystem right now, given what happened in November?
It's something that's very much on my mind. I certainly believe it, and I've been making an effort, despite the fact that I was like the big rebel of the season before Alex's run, and I was a 61-year-old grandfather when I, captured that position, but that was seen as scandalous enough. So I think it was just a bridge too far to go with AOC as a ranking member at this point. But look. Her legislative skills are fantastic. And as you're saying, her communication skills are really surpassing. And I think people know that. And there will be lots of different ways for that to be expressed and represented. I mean, for example, one of the things I've thought about is they're creating this new DOGE committee, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, although it's not a department in the House, in the Oversight Committee, it's just a legislative subcommittee. Even in the administration, it's not a department. I think they wanted to call it that just so it mirrored the Bitcoin that the Elon's got. But in any event, they're appointing Marjorie Taylor Greene to be the head of that subcommittee. She's going to be the head of it. Well, I mean, one way to put that whole thing away very quickly is to make AOC the ranking member on that and put AOC up against MTG. That will be a top-ranked show, but I think that the intellectual substance and the insight that Alex brings to it will shine through. And that I think that will be a meaningful. That would be one meaningful demonstration of what we're talking about. But there's lots of opportunities, and we will see that there will be a proliferation of opportunities for Alex, and not just Alex, by the way. I mean, Melanie Stansbury from New Mexico, and Greg Casar from Texas, Maxwell Frost from Florida, Jared Moskowitz from Florida, Dan Goldman from New York. I mean, we've got an extraordinary junior team, and that's not even talking about the freshmen who are coming in right now, like Maggie Goodlander from New Hampshire and Julie Johnson from Texas. I mean, extraordinary people are getting elected because they understand the stakes of the times, and they're running, and we've got to figure out a way to use them in the House, in the Congress, and out in the country, in the Democratic Party. And, but one thing I've noticed Brian, is that when things are going all right, when we're winning elections or we do things well, then people talk about, yeah, we're doing well. And then when something happens that disappoints us, then we say, well, you Democrats better do this and you Democrats better do that. And I wish that people would use the third person singular. Is it that we use the we form to describe it, because we can make these things happen. And despite the fact that Jerry Connolly won, that's not a disaster or anything. I mean, Jerry Connolly is himself a great an effective legislative leader. He just comes from a different generation, so he doesn't have all of the amazing skills that Alex has in terms of communication through all of the channels that other members are just getting acquainted with now.
I do take issue with one thing there. You said in that clip, I knew you guys were for real about fighting the establishment, and you give a bunch of a list of reasons, but you said it to a room full of people who voted for a billionaire in Donald Trump and who was funded by the literal richest guy in the world, in Elon Musk. So I understand and appreciate your argument that Kamala Harris and the Democrats are to establishment. That's a drum that you've beaten for years now. But isn't it insane to think that this Republican Party, this MAGA Republican Party, is the answer? Like there are more billionaires in Trump's cabinet than the buffet line at Davos.
Yeah. So let's take both of those real quick. So number one, I'm going to talk to folks. There's a talking point that we have on the left that we don't realize is absurd, but it is totally absurd. They say, well, if you go talk to them, it legitimizes them. You know what legitimizes them? Winning the election.
Right. I mean, that ship has sailed, right? Like when people say don't go on Fox, as if millions of as if we're the reason that Fox is suddenly going to be legitimized because on a network that millions of people watch on a daily basis.
Of course. And so and they even won the popular vote. But the fact that they won the popular vote is very relevant because we have to win those voters back. And you can't win those voters back if you're not talking to them. So that's point one. Now, on in terms of the establishment, this one is a complicated and really interesting topic. So both sides claim that the other side is bad and their donors suck, but our donors are great. And I always find that conversation intensely absurd, right? So if you say to me the donors on both sides are bad, meaning like not that they're bad people, but that it's bad that this system allows for those kind of donations, which then obviously influence both sides. I say absolutely, 100%. So, but that means you've got to be honest about your own side. So you, as you pointed out, I've been saying this for about 20 years now. And so that's why I'm in the Bernie Sanders wing. And I think when Kamala Harris was bragging about how she had 90 corporate CEOs on her side, that was a terrible strategy. And when, she raised over $1 billion for herself, let alone the billions in the PACs, largely a huge portion of that was corporate donors. If you think that they don't have to pay them back with favors, you're just not paying attention. I love you, brothers and sisters, but this is the same exact thing I say to the right wing. So when I go there and I say, one thing they did that we didn't do yet is they did a revolt against their establishment wing within the party. So they, basically kicked out Mitch McConnell from power, et cetera. We have not done likewise. We have not kicked out the Nancy Pelosi's and the Joe Bidens. And so when you go to do that, there's massive pushback, okay? No way, those are our leaders, and the other side is so evil. We have to take the money, we have to bow our heads to these leaders, and we have to let them serve the donors. No, I don't agree, right? But now when you turn to the right wing, I said later in that speech, I said, guys, don't, lower your guard because you have donors too. And then there was a little bit of a hush over the crowd, right? Because when you start talking about Republican donors, who pops to mind first? Elon Musk. And so I'm honest about it in both directions, and I say it to their face. And so I've gone on other right-wing shows and said, who's Elon, what's Elon Musk? He's a donor. He's the largest donor, over $250 million that he gave to Donald Trump. And now all of a sudden he wants regulatory agencies that regulate his companies to be wiped away from existence.
Right.
That's awfully convenient, right? And then who's his donor? Third largest donor, Miriam Adelson, $137 million. If you take the Adelson family, Sheldon and Miriam, Sheldon's passed away, but before he did, they've given over $330 million to Donald Trump, even larger than Elon Musk. And in my opinion, he's handed them foreign policy. So these are the points I make to right-wingers, and who else is even getting in the room to make those points, to tell not their leaders, but their voters, guys, remember, you're supposed to hate corruption. That's what you say 24/7. If you do, be careful about Elon Musk, Miriam Adelson, and every other donor that Trump has.
To watch the full interviews with Jamie Raskin and Cenk Uygur, click the thumbnails right here on the screen or check out the interviews playlist on my YouTube channel. You can also click the link on the screen to listen to the audio version of this episode, and of course to see more of my content, the subscribe button's on the screen as well.